Good evening, Ghana. You are tuned into Time with Irubad Ibrahim, and today we have a very important guest. And this gentleman served as MP for Ablekuma South on two different successful occasions. He served as Minister for Information, and he has so many laurels to his name. Before I introduce my guest, let me give you a little brief about him. He was born in Accra, the capital city of the Republic of Ghana. His father was an academic and the first Ghanaian to serve as Vice Chancellor of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. His secondary education was at the Prempeh College in Kumasi. Then he proceeded to the UK to pursue higher education and later came back to Ghana to serve with integrity. And today we are going to discuss such an important topic at a time when integrity has become a very rare commodity on the Ghanaian market. You just cannot afford to miss this conversation. Stick and stay with us. We'll go for a brief commercial break. When we come back, I introduce my guest. You're welcome back. We are so privileged to have in the studio Honorable Fritz Baffuor. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for making time, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Honorable, the word integrity, before we even look at serving the Republic of Ghana with integrity, what would be your definition of integrity, sir?
Integrity is an intangible, but it means with good intentions,
okay,
and also with a certain degree of honesty. In fact, with honesty,
okay,
with openness,
okay,
and with a certain sense of delivery.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so these things you've mentioned form the cornerstone of good governance itself.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yeah, integrity is very vital to good governance. Basically because you're governing people. People have placed their trust in you, especially in a democracy, where people have elected someone to serve them,
Yes,
all right? And even when you are appointed, all right, your trust is placed in you by the electorate or by whoever's appointed you, and you're supposed to deliver because there are aims and objectives of governance. That is it really.
Okay, Honorable, you come from a very, academic background. Would you tell us what encouraged you to go into politics in the first place?
Well, it's not just a question of academic background. My father was one of the pioneers of in the foundation of the Republic of Ghana. And so he had a belief that there was going to be a nation called Ghana, which was going to be one of the greatest nations on earth, along with other people that he worked with. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, all those people, Michael Dianan, K. Bedema, you understand, Buzia, all those people who came together. Some of them may be different, but they believed in a nation, that there was going to be a crucible called Ghana.
Okay.
And so, they imbued in us, those people who were pioneers.
Yes, sir.
The Robert Gardners, their children and all that were imbued with the sense that it had to be carried on. It wasn't going to be them. They were laying the foundation, yes, and we had to carry it on.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, I've always had, a belief that I have to serve the people, or serve the people that I belong to. And there are different ways of doing it. I mean, I was in comedy, I was in film, I was in the media and all that. But
yes,
at the bottom of it all was that I had to do something in politics. And that's how I came into politics.
Even though you come from quite an erudite family, what was the political tradition in your household?
It's very funny. It's very, very funny because my father was a very close friend of Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay.
All right, a very good friend of Kwame Nkrumah from the days of Achimota, and that we're talking about the late 20s and the early 30s of the last century.
Wow.
And so therefore the inclination, because I spent quite a lot of I learned a lot from my father.
Yes, sir.
But my mother, my mother's twin sister,
okay,
was the wife of Obeche Bilamte. So therefore the UP tradition was there to a certain extent. But I wasn't inclined to the UP tradition at all. But I'm just saying that my mother, who was married to R.P. Baffuor, who was inclined to the Nkrumahist and the social democratic tradition, or I had a twin sister who was the wife of one of the leading members of the UP tradition. Yes. So I grew up with an understanding of both sides, and I chose the side that I thought was best.
Could that have informed why you conducted a very clean campaign and served with such integrity?
Well, the clean campaign is very, very important because there is something about falsehoods in politics. You tell a lie, all right, and it'll be proven to be a lie, and it would paint you black for the rest of your life.
Yes, sir.
All right, lies do not stand up to scrutiny. All right, and I do not believe that when one is your political opponent, all right, that person is also a human being. That person also has a certain mental acuity. All right, that person may be brilliant, but you may disagree based on various issues and things like that. So I don't see why I should insult them.
Okay.
Or denigrate them. I've never really believed in them.
You are a multiple faceted gentleman and an elderly statesman, so to speak. Let's talk about your days in comedy, sir. During your time, stand-up was quite popular. You were doing a lot of drama. Then came the film industry, and now it has taken a nosedive. Any words of wisdom you would want to whisper to the contemporary generation of comedians and actors?
It hasn't taken a nosedive as such. When I started in comedy, we didn't have the multitude of television stations and radio stations and outlets that we have now.
Yes, sir.
All right, it was either on GBC. I mean, we didn't even have the National Theatre, and so it was a little bit compressed.
Yes, sir.
All right, but now you have all these outlets. You have the National Theatre, you have nightclubs, you have the social media, you have digital television and all that kind of thing. So many channels. So it's diffused. So that's why we think it's nosedive. We're nosedive. But it hasn't, you understand? I think there's going to be a renaissance, you understand? The focus is that there's a lack of focus, but somebody's got to come out with something that would attract everybody and would, Basketball, for example. He transcended and changed and transformed the comedy scene in Nigeria with a new kind of comedy that other people have followed. Bakassi, Clint the Drunk, all those people. And we're doing it now in Ghana. We're seeing younger people come in. You've got DKB, you've got others who I think are coming along very well.
You must have been a very voracious reader all your life, and we can tell that from your diction and your choice of words all the time. At what point, a very academic, straight-faced young man, at what point did you realize you had a knack for comedy?
Well, let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
I started reading when I was very young. I mean, naturally, you come from a family where your father was, my grandfather was a teacher. And my father was a teacher, so naturally reading became a natural thing. We had a lot of books around the house. My mother was a midwife, but she came out of Achimota, and the essence was to read a lot. So both sides, one thing I have is a lot of books, and I read.
Wow.
But the thing is that my father, being an engineer, he was Ghana's the first Ghanaian to graduate in engineering on Ghanaian soil.
Wow.
And was therefore regarded as Ghana's first engineer. Then, you know, he did a lot of things. Taught at Achimota, became the chief engineer at AMA, then he became the head of government transport, and then principal secretary for the Ministry of Transport and Communications.
Wow.
But despite that, my father was acted in the first Ghanaian feature film, The Boy Kumasedu. And when he was in Achimota, he used to produce, he had productions.
Yes, sir.
The Pirates of Penzance, which was an opera.
Yes.
My dad produced it, he sang in it, he acted in it, and all that kind of thing. So we had that artistic side too in the house, all right. And my late grandfather, who was a teacher, he was the headmaster of St. Joseph's school in middle school in Elmina, and then he also became a district education officer in Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
He played the piano, all right, and then his 3 sons, all right, were all very musical.
Wow.
All right, and one of my uncles he wrote a couple of fancy spiritual gospel songs. So,
right.
you know, basically the arts is with us, and my brothers, most of my brothers are musical. I've got brothers who act. I've got a brother who's had several hit songs and things like that. So it wasn't far removed from where I was as a little boy. And I wasn't a straight-laced little boy. I was a troublesome little boy.
What is lacking in our comedy today is that the quality, the panache you brought to bear on the industry seems to be missing. That is why we are not able to cross over to other countries, because the language...
It's content. Okay. It's content. And it's content, again, content is also well-versed in reading. Okay. Content is versed in curiosity. Content is versed in eloquence. You have to look at those things, and once you're well-read, once you are curious, all right, you can transcend barriers. You understand? If you are not curious and you feel that you want to be a localized comedian, then fine, you can join a concert party. Naturally, you make a lot of money, but you will not be able to make that big leap where you become an international star, unless it's within a certain grouping outside who are conversant with what you're trying to say.
Yeah, what about content? Now, the content of most comics borders on sex, it borders on liquor, borders on music and dance. How can we use it as a tool, comedy as a tool, to educate and refine our culture?
Comedy has always been a very important aspect of education. Even, in fact, when in Europe, the monarchical system in Europe, you had the jester, the court jester, who told jokes and sang songs and things like that. But his or her was a knack for sarcasm and criticism in a very refined way. We also have it in Ghana, where the chief has people who come and perform. And in performing, you educate and you also advise, because as a performer, all right, you have to study society in order to be able to do the things. If you're writing a song, you write a song about the things that you see in society. If you're writing about people, it's the same thing. If you want to make fun of people, you have to study the society. So therefore, you have an in into how you do it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And sir, I'll take you to film.
Yeah.
I said it's taking a nosedive, but you came with a counterpunch.
Yeah.
And saying that the vicissitudes have changed somewhat.
Yeah.
And Gollywood was on the ascendancy.
Yeah.
Then Kumawood, our own local movies, became popular. And then we are talking about the dying embers of the Kumawood industry itself.
Yeah. I think that I have to blame the powers that be when it comes down to film. We have a knack for pulling back when we're going forward. People were knocking Kumawood, were saying it was basic, it was primitive, but there's nothing wrong with it. It catered to a certain constituency. Yes, certain constituency, yes. It catered to a certain clientele, you know, and a certain audience. And there's nothing wrong with that audience, because that audience is the audience that we refer to, all right? If you're talking about Akan traditions and things like that, you will find out that a lot of things that came out of Kumawit are drawn from those traditions and those cultural practices. So what we should have done was to push it. And, you know, for instance, you know, we talk about Nollywood. And you have the Igbo traditions coming out. Yeah, it's no different from what pertains in Kumasi or maybe in Tamale or what have you. But they've pushed it. And they do it with vim and with confidence. We seem always to lack confidence when we're going places. It's as if, hey, we're here. Whoa, what a wonderful thing. I mean, how long is it going to last? It should be that let's push it. Let's make sure that people understand. All right? We know very well that the Asantini is an icon. All right? Whether you are a Ga or you're an Ewe or you're a Dagomba, the Asantini is an icon because they've been able to codify their traditional practices to appeal. You know, you've got Kente, you've got the way he sits in the stage, you've got the golden stool. There's a story to be told. And I don't think we've done enough. And we should have done the same thing with Kumawut. It's just like the Kantanka cars or the Kantinga cars. Nobody really talks about them. It's as if, you know, all right, it's done. All right? We talk about, even let's talk about Azuma Nelson. All right? We talk about him, but, you know, so sotto voce. We should be talking about him in a way that everybody knows that, look, there was a part of Accra, or there is a part of Accra that produces great pugilists, great boxers, you know, great footballers, great tennis players and everything. People get excited when they do that in other countries. In Ghana, we mute it down all the time, and I think that's what's wrong.
I was in Hollywood Boulevard in LA, and I saw the big screens and the graffiti.
Yeah, and then you
do
saw
you think
the stars on
yes.
the pavement,
Honorable, do you think Hollywood should be the yardstick for measuring the progress we are making in the movie industry?
Well, it is the best. I mean, the thing is that when it comes to mass, it's Bollywood. And now Bollywood in itself is becoming very attractive. And I remember growing up as a child in Kolegono, in Ablik Masal, which is constituency, and the fishermen loving Indian movies. Now, very sophisticated people love Indian movies. You understand? Because they went further. You know what I mean? They went further with it. They took it and run with it. We are not taking our things and running with it. You understand? We always seem to be laid back in anything that we do. And I think that sometimes is what gives us a lot of problems.
Would you encourage latter-day telenovelas with Akan voiceovers that have flooded the market?
I am actually against that. But that is very much my opinion. All right? But I believe that there are far better stories within the Ghanaian firmament, all right, where you can actually start speaking Akan, and you can actually get the source from within our culture, and it will be more convincing than, you know, somebody who is a brown-faced, long-haired lady, you know, and you are syncing her voice and all that kind of thing. I think that it's a fait accompli. It's a wrong thing for us.
No, but these telenovelas are booming. Is it the quality of the pictures that we lack in Ghanaian movies?
Yeah, but the thing is that we have, as I said, we've not taken it and run with it. I mean, we haven't told the story of Kwame Nkrumah. We haven't told the story of Buzia. We haven't told the story of the coup. We haven't told the story of the golden stool. We haven't told the story of the Fantis. We haven't told the story of Jakpa. We haven't told the story of Sitobu, you know, in the northern part of Ghana. We haven't told the story of Noche. And these stories are there to be told. And we have the people. I mean, after all, NAFTI was one of the first film schools on the continent. And a lot of the top filmmakers in Zimbabwe, in East Africa, in North Africa, had their training here. And they're coming out with better, what do you call it, movies. It's because, as I said, we're laid back. And then we don't seem to commit ourselves to things that are good. We're always talking about the destructive part of our psyche.
Veteran actors and actresses like you have not graced the screens in a long time. And Grace Norte came out at a point to lament the fact that you feel isolated.
Yeah.
Would you advise for a melange of veterans and younger ones? Like,
Of course, of course.
when was the last time you were presented a script, sir?
Well, I don't actually. I write my scripts, and then I also, but just on AU Day,
Okay.
the day before, Becca, the musician, came to me and said, "Look, she's having a music video. Can I help? She wants me to come on board." She gave me, the synopsis.
Okay.
And I spent 7-8 hours, and I enjoyed it immensely because I met Sarkodie, whose music I love.
Okay.
I met Pauline Odru, whom I know very well. Freddie Mayway came all the way from Côte d'Ivoire. So there is some joy, some comfort in dealing with the young ones now. If you sit in my car right now, you'll hear hip hop. I have Sarkodie, I have Patapaa.
You do have Patapaa. You have Patapaa.
Yeah, and I have, I have all of them in my
see.
car. And the Nigerians, Wizkid and all that. I have them. I listen to them, and I listen to them with joy because I like music and I like the arts. You understand?
So we shouldn't blame the woes of the local movie industry on telenovelas.
No, I mean we should. I mean to a certain extent because it is the promoters, the ones who are promoting the telenovelas in Ghana, who find it an easy way out because they don't have to pay for the production.
Yes, sir.
They don't have to invest in it. All they do is they buy the finished product. It's like bringing second-hand clothes to Ghana and destroying the tailoring industry or the garment industry in this country.
Yes,
so
sir.
I believe that it has to be a commitment for us to do that.
What role do you think the tourism ministry can play in the whole of this?
Well, the tourism ministry, I feel very sorry for any tourism minister we have. Because people think that there are answers to tourism coming from the ministry. Tourism is very much an extension of the will of the government of the day. Listen, look at the tourist sites that we have on the coast.
Yes,
you want to go to Elmina, you want to go to Cape Coast.
Yes, sir.
And you want to go to Kakum.
Yes, sir.
All right. It takes you 3-4 hours.
Yes,
when
sir.
it should take you 1.5 hours. The road is not good. The road is not safe. All right. It's a passable road, but we haven't made it easy. All right. And when you're leaving Accra, look at the problems you have. Right now, we have a situation in Malam where they're digging a culvert, so you spend about 2, 3, 4 hours. And this is the tourism season.
Wow.
You understand? Then you have to have freedom of movement. You have to have the right kind of facilities. The tourists need to communicate. So telephones. We have a situation where we have good food. Okay. We need hospitals because when a tourist gets ill away and he can't get good medical treatment, he'll go back and say, look, your country, it's like preparing for a guest. Wow. When a guest is coming to stay in your house, you prepare. You make sure that guest, and you prepare for eventualities. And so, if we haven't, our infrastructure is not good enough, all right, we are not going to get the volume of tourists that we have. We're getting tourists because we've got a big population of Ghanaians in the diaspora, and they come home. But we want the additional, those who are outsiders who want to come and see what is in Ghana. Now, our tourism attractions are different.
Yes, sir.
Basically, we cannot compete with South Africa and East Africa in terms of safari tourism, wildlife tourism and everything.
Yes,
so we have Mole, and look at how long will it take for you to get to Mole. You understand? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have a situation where ours is about humans. Wow. You know, Ghana is about the people. Our people are, I think, the most interesting people you can get in the world.
Wow.
We've got our beautiful festivals, which we should plan better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have the slave trade, which is about people. Mm-hmm. We have the cultures that you see in the north. You have the Mole Dagbani cultures of the people of Dagbon, Greater Dagbon. You're talking about the Mamprusis, you're talking about the Dagombas, you're talking about the Nanumbas. And then you've got the upper people, the Kusasis and the Bisa, and all those people. They've got something to offer, and people are interested in people. That's why a program like Big Brother is very, very popular, because people are curious about people. And we have those kind of people in Ghana. We've got the Nsimas, wonderful, you know. And, you know, I spent some time a few months ago in the western part of Ghana, and investors have done a great deal. Local investors have built very beautiful hotels along the western side.
Is it that we are not making enough noise to attract?
It's not enough noise. It is enough work. We've got to build the roads. We've got to put the facilities in. You understand? I mean, we've got to put sanitation, and we've got to sort out our sanitation. We've got to. It's a question of that. Look, you want visitors to come to visit you, and your house is not ready. Your house has got to be ready. You have to have water, you have to have electricity, you have to have a phone, all right? You have to have good food, you've got to get a good kitchen, all those things. If you put it in the context of a country, are we ready? That is the problem. Because we've had very good people in terms of people who have great ideas, but those ideas fall flat when you don't have the infrastructure.
I feel sorry for people who cuddle around as a family and they say they want to go to the beach.
Yes.
We travel to other countries and we see how beaches look like.
Yes.
But here, the filth.
The filth is incredible. And the thing is, when we complain about politicians and complain about governance and things like that, it's us. It's us. There's something wrong with us at the moment. Basically because I think we're moving far away from the idea of a nation. You understand? There was an ideal of a nation. When Kwame Nkrumah and the rest, when we had our independence, there was a nation.
Yes,
and we had the template for creating a nation.
Yes, sir.
And for establishing a nation.
Yes, sir.
All right? We established a nation, and now we started fighting. All right, people get up, they say, oh, we're going to have regions. And they say, okay, we have to have the capital sited in our district. People get up and say, oh, we are more than this group, so we, instead of thinking about the whole, which is the nation. For example, at a certain time, Hohoi was the capital of the Transvolta Togoland, which became the Volta region, that part of the Volta region.
Yes,
and they decided that Ho would be better because it had access to certain facilities that Hohoi didn't have. Despite the fact that Hohoi is a great town because it's very cosmopolitan. It has about 6 different ethnic groups all living in harmony and all that kind of thing. But I'm just saying that, let's say you have your town is the biggest town, but it doesn't have access to water, it doesn't have access to a good road or something like that, and you want it to be the capital. It's going to cost you a great deal. So these are the kind of things that we've got to think about. And then when you talk about sanitation, why would somebody in the morning when you're behind a bus, people throwing things out of the windows, people spitting, you know, look, if you look at our gutters, it's an eyesore. You know, even when you clean the gutters, I mean, this morning when I was coming into town from the house, they said they were desilting the gutters, and all the silt and the desilter stuff was on the side of the road, and we're in the rainy season.
It's just going
to go back in. So does it make sense? Are we being logical? That is what bothers me. And then we say, oh, the politician, and the kind of people you vote to be politicians mirror your expectations. Why would you vote for somebody who you think is a thief or a fool?
Yes, sir.
You understand? There must be a reason why you'll say, all right, I'll shrug my shoulders and I'll do that. You know what I mean? We talk about Trump, but there are people in America who believe that Trump will answer their problems. You understand?
Yes,
and
sir.
it's the same thing in politics in this country.
What has Paul Kagame done that the 4 or 5 presidents we've had since 1992 have not done? Go to Kigali, you won't see the kind of things, the stench and squalor
I was in Kigali. I was in Kigali during the war. I was even honored by the Ghana Armed Forces for the work I did in Kigali. I was with the Ghana peacekeepers and things like that. I met Paul Kagame. He came to visit Major General Anidoho, and we met. We had a bit of an argument, you know. I thought he was a little bit arrogant. But let me tell you something. For the past 60, 70 years, all right, the Tutsis have been in, until they came back in 1994, 1995. They were in prison camp. They were in, what do you call it, refugee camps. Okay. And the war was an opportunity for them to break out of the refugee camps. So they worked very, very, very hard in unison because they wanted to come back home. And they wanted to come back to a home fit for themselves. You understand? So when they came in, they said, come on, we can't go back to the refugee camps, all right? Because that's not what we want. We've got our country back. So let's turn it into a paradise. You know, you build a nation fit for heroes and fit for your people. You have got to recognize that every society has certain things that they aspire to. Look, Ghana, we also do. We aspire to cleanliness. That's why people get up in the morning and sweep their houses.
Yes, sir.
But there's no system to it.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes.
We have people getting up very early. They want to go to work. But then they can't get a bus. Our public transportation is in such a bad way.
Yes, sir.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
So basically, what they've done is that the things that will make us a better country, let's work towards it. We're doing the direct opposite.
Okay. Kagame is serving with integrity because he has security of tenure. He's doing the third term of 7 years.
Yeah.
He will soon be 21 years
But
in
let me
power.
also tell you something about Kagame. You daren't insult him. You daren't get up and then, you know, in Ghana we really have thrown respect out of the window. All right? I am not a supporter of Nana Akufo-Addo, but why should I insult him? You understand? Yeah. One of the people I regard and respect is President Kufuor. When I see him, he reflects an adult, somebody who is knowledgeable. All right? Maybe because of the system, he may not have achieved what we wanted him to achieve. All right? I wasn't a supporter. I'm not a supporter of the NPP. You understand? But I respect him. And you see, those kind of things help us because they make us circumspect. Before you open your mouth and you condemn someone, all right, if you respect him, you'll swallow your bile and think twice. It helps you. You understand? We're too free and easy. You know, we've taken the freedom and justice thing overboard. Yes, there's too much freedom in this country. All right? And everybody thinks that he has a say, whether he's experienced or not. It becomes a problem.
In your active days in journalism in the early and then mid-90s, morning shows didn't look the way they look today.
Well, morning shows, you see, morning shows were not, they were structured. Basically, it wasn't a free-for-all. Right now, we've got so many radio stations, so many television stations, and the ownership, all right, of those stations. They have different objectives, all right, and different criteria for what they're doing. And so we think that when the news is hot, when it's something that is controversial, that is when people will listen or watch the program. And that is what is wrong. I believe that the morning show, it should not be about, in fact, most of the time, I decline to go on any show where there's somebody from another political party, because we're not going to come and sit down and work in unanimity.
That's true.
You understand? So I prefer that instead of bringing politicians, for instance, this whole ANAS thing, I wouldn't have brought a politician. I would have brought in a security expert. I would have brought in somebody who, I wouldn't have brought in a housewife, all right, to say, oh, somebody's a football supporter, all right. But we've tinged everything with politics. And that's why we've become so political in every aspect. I was telling somebody a story the other day of this young man who came to me when we were in power and said that he'd been sacked from his office, been sacked from work. Why had he been sacked? And he said oh, well, you know, the boss is an MPP guy, and the boss realized he was an NDC fanatic, so he sacked him. So I said, where do you work? He showed me, told me the office. And then I realized that the person he was talking about was a very good friend of mine. So I didn't say anything at all. I went to see my friend. And I said, look, I've come to see you. I have a little problem. There's a young man who's complaining that he's been, you know. And he said, okay. I gave him the name, and he said, oh, come on. So he called the HR guy.
Wow.
The HR guy came. He said, look, this guy has gone to see his MP. That's it. The guy said, Fritz, the man's a thief.
Wow.
He'd stolen, he'd been given so many opportunities. So I went back, and I called him, and I said, look, let's go to the office. I picked him up and took him. And they confronted him. And yes, all right. So it had nothing to do with MPP or NDC. But there are people doing it now. All right? And we've politicized it so much that now people can actually get up and say, if you're not MPP, we'll not give you a job.
Wow.
You understand? All these things, and we were doing it too. I mean, and I was against it. I said, why? You understand? We're Ghanaians first and foremost. All right? We are making politics into the negative that it is now. You understand? I mean, we go, you vote, and you elect, and then you have a president. The president is the president for us all.
Yes,
you
sir.
understand? Yes, there are certain positions that you will give to your people in your political party. But to say carte blanche that, all right, you have to have a party card, or we have to have seen you supporting, so we have to put you somewhere, means that you're going to also put somebody aside. And that person is going to seethe and wait. And then we have a cycle of a vicious cycle.
So for this daily dose of polarization we get every morning, would you call for a restructuring?
Yes, naturally, the thing is, but unfortunately, who will bail the cat? You understand? I mean, I think it's in the interest of a lot of people in power that the situation should remain the same. And there are people waiting on the sidelines and saying, when the NDC comes, we will do the same to you. I've never believed in it, because I believe in Ghana. I believe in this country. I believe in the goodness of our people, and we shouldn't soil it or sully it with partisan politics, overtly partisan politics.
Many people were shocked when you came out to take a partisan position and even run on a certain ticket, because you were everybody's favorite. Did you suffer any reputational damage as a result?
Not really. I mean, actually, it hurts now a little when you want to comment on issues and it's, you know, broken down to, oh, because he's an NDC man. You understand? It hurts because you know that you know more than that. It's not about you being an NDC man. It's about you being a Ghanaian. And it's because of the partisanship that we've adopted, the kind of partisanship we've got adopted. But the thing is that is the only way you can go into politics in Ghana. We have party politics in this country. And it's a winner takes all, and you go into it. I recently mentioned that we should also take a look at proportional representation so that the duopoly will be broken, and then it will not be all about politics, and then we'll have to learn to live with each other. We've learned to live with each other in Parliament.
Honorable, why would such lofty ideas only come after you've left power?
It was there when sometimes it's you learn after the fact. You understand? But at that time, I used to mention it because, look, if you look at my writing, I mean, if you look, I've got a book called After Midnight. If you read the essays, you'll realize that I've always been my own man to a certain extent. I'm a social democrat. I'm a member of the National Democratic Congress. I realize that we've got, you know, when you're in power and when your party's in power, you have different avenues. It's not, you don't stand outside and shout. I can pick up the phone and I can call a minister. Okay. All right, I can then try and see if I can get to the president and tell him that, look, these are my concerns, and you'll get returns.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm not in. I can actually say that, look, this is what we've got to do, so long as I am not being abrasive or offensive in my arguments.
We go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we go deeper into the skin of Honorable Baffuor. Stick and stay with us. Welcome back. We are still in the studios with Honorable Fritz Baffuor. If he were in the States, we would call him Bill Cosby, without the scandals. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I would want to take you away from your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You decided to serve for 2 terms and bid good riddance to partisan politics. Why?
Not partisan politics. I'm still a member of the party. The thing is, I went into, if I hadn't gone into politics, I wouldn't have been a happy man. Because as a child, as I said, I wanted to be in politics. And at a certain time, in 1991, I started working, actually 1989, I started working with Jerry John Rawlings, the PNDC era. I became close to him. The antecedents I've already talked about. So,
yes,
and I learned a lot from him, and I learned a lot about the governance systems and things like that. And at a certain time, I decided that no, I wouldn't be a backroom boy. I'd like to come to the fore, naturally, because I had certain gifts. I mean, being an entertainer, therefore a certain element of eloquence, being the fact that I read a lot, so therefore I'd lend myself to that side of things, that vocation. So I became a parliamentarian. I served my people. It was very difficult. It wasn't easy because the resources are minimal.
Okay.
But I did my best. I thought I did my best, and I enjoyed being a parliamentarian. Certain aspects of being a parliamentarian, but I became a little disillusioned because I didn't feel I was doing as much as I wanted to do, because there are limitations. And I realized that when I was doing my program, Sincerely Yours, all right, it reached out to more people. A lot of people learned a lot from what I did.
Yes, sir.
And I thought that maybe that was where I should go. All right, but I'm glad that I did my stint in Parliament. Basically because, you know, you do your stint. I didn't want to think back and say, oh, I should have done that. No. All right. It's off my bucket list now. So
yes, sir.
I can then concentrate on.
We are discussing service with integrity. For the 8 years you were in Parliament, were there things your colleagues in Parliament were doing that you felt were way away from integrity and national service? Were you considered a pariah in the
No, not at all, not at all. I was very much part and parcel of the parliamentary process. I'm a bit of an iconoclast anyway, in different ways. I've never been one for fans, you know, hey, Fritz, no. I've never been one for it. Despite the fact that I'm a public figure and I'm an entertainer. I'm very good in front of the crowd, but not very good in the crowd. You know? But I learned a lot. I learned not to look down on people. I learned to understand the workings of the Ghanaian mind from a certain concept. All right, I was very cerebral about Parliament, and so I didn't see. Yes, naturally, I realized the immense pressures that parliamentarians undergo. And I know people say, you make your promises, so therefore, you know, but it's as if, you know, you have to be all things to all men. You're paying school fees, the resources that you have to expend them in a way that you don't want to expend them. I think that's what gives vent to people looking for money in different ways, but I didn't see that much. All right. Naturally, there are certain parliamentary practices you wish you could change because our political parties do not support us when we're going into candidature, and then as a candidate, it's only coming in the funding, the whole funding mess of party funding. It's a mess. It opens itself to corruption, it opens itself to compromises and things that may be wrong. And I think we have to look at that very, very seriously. If we want a democracy, then we've got to pay for it. And if we want the best, then we've got to pay for it.
Okay.
We can't just take a two-a-penny approach to it, because I had to spend a lot of money. I had to go to people and ask for money and raise funds. And, you know, not very few Ghanaians have that kind of money to say that I can actually fund my campaign and all that kind of thing.
Okay,
So,
you may call onto the show in case you have any question for Honorable Fritz Baffuor, and the number is boldly displayed on your set. Honorable, okay, there's already a caller. Hello, good evening. Your name and where you calling from? Hello? And kindly lower the volume on your set. Oh, sorry, we lost you. Honorable, sorry, intermittently there will be calls coming in.
No problem.
How ethical is the lobbying in Parliament? Because we heard that monies normally exchange hands for you to pass bills into law.
I was chairman of Defense and Interior, and certain laws had to be passed. It is not about money lobbying being given to change your mind. All right. The problem is the funding of Parliament and the resources. So if we've got to have a stakeholders meeting,
Yes,
all right, it's usually an outside organization that may say that we will help. All right, maybe pay the hotel bills and pay the transport costs. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, sir. Hi, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Your name and where you calling us from?
I'm calling from Eburi. My name is Kwame Ohene.
Kwame Ohene, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm calling because of Honorable Baffuor.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, Honorable Baffuor, I was a little boy when you were hosting Trade Focus. And I was so amazed seeing you on the screen. And I thank God for your life. This is what I want to say.
Okay.
Thank you, God bless you.
Honorable, I
Thank you too.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. So you were talking about your days as chair.
Yeah, so therefore, and you want to get it done. So, you know, you have a stakeholders meeting. But it's very rare that someone will come and tell you that, you know, here's some money, we want this bill passed. The bill, the process is that bills usually come from government. Okay. All right. So let's say you are an organization and you want a law passed, all right, to the advocacy is done to the ministry. The ministry will then, if get it into cabinet. Cabinet will discuss it and then it will be referred to Parliament. You see what I mean? That's the process, okay? So it is it is not a question of that money will be given to me for it to be passed. No, but maybe the committee, their comfort and everything is looked after. And I think that it's wrong, but not wrong from the point of view that we're doing it. It's because we have a dearth of finances to support that. That's why I'm saying that if you have a democracy, you have to pay for it. You have to ensure that it's done. If you go to America, you know, when you're doing these things, you do it in a way that would be would be open. Okay. You know, and it comes from the resources of the legislature.
Okay. Honorable, there is a deluge of calls, and I hate it when I have to cut in.
Okay.
But we'll see how to find our way around it.
Yeah.
Honorable, you were a backbencher in Parliament, weren't you?
I was a backbencher from 2009 to 2012 February, and then the whole of 2012 I was the Minister of Information. When I came back to Parliament, I became the chairman of the...
Sorry about that. Hello, good evening. Your name and where you calling us from?
From Kanishi.
Oh, Kanishi here in Accra. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Can we hear from Fritz?
Yeah.
What is about infrastructure the playground, the swimming pool, the...
You mean recreational centers?
Again,
Recreational centers to boost our tourism industry.
no, they cannot hear you.
No, no, ask the question again.
Okay, repeat your question. Honorable is listening. Lower the volume on your set so Honorable can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Okay,
Sorry, you would have to call again. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yes, Honorable. So, yeah, I want to ask you this question, Honorable.
Yeah.
How much of a challenge is it? You said there is so much pressure coming from constituents.
Yeah.
Integrity has to do with honesty. You said it in your preamble.
Yeah.
Why would we then blame politicians for dipping their hands into the public purse? Hello, your name and where you calling from? Calling from Kumasi. Okay. Can you? Okay, welcome to the show. Lower the volume on your set and speak more audibly.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm Richard.
Richie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I just switched off my yeah, no,
Honorable Fritz Baffuor. And kindly put a hold on the calls. They are not too helpful for me today. I beg you. Honorable. Yeah, so why would we blame politicians
No,
for being
it's not
corrupt?
a question of blaming politicians per se or that the people are wrong. We have certain institutions that have got to educate the citizenry, all right? If you do not have a citizenry that are educated in the ways of democracy, in the Constitution of Ghana and all that, then you have a problem. And when I was growing up, we had civics. And from childhood, you learned about the country.
Hello?
All right, yeah.
Yeah, hello, your name and where you calling from?
Kwame and calling from Kumasi.
Kwame from Kumasi. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I want to greet Honorable. He is one of my mentors and I know him very much. And I want to ask him, based on this announced JP expose, that is instructed to be sold on 6th June, I want to ask him, is he for or against and why?
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable. Honorable, issues of ethics in investigative journalism.
Well, the thing is that it's not out yet, okay? The sting kind of journalism came out sometime in the 70s, where, you know, you'd be coerced if you know, to do something.
Isn't it entrapment? Honorable, if you left this set and gave me a bag of $10,000,
Yes.
I would consider it a gift. But why would you record me and then call me corrupt?
No.
And kindly cut this one. Let's answer this question, I beg you.
No, it's not a question of, I'm not really interested in the way Anas goes about it, all right? If I say I'm not interested, that's being unfair. I am interested because I am a sphere of influence. But it's sad that despite the organizations that we have, it has to be a lone ranger, all right, who's making inroads into the integrity and talking about corruption. We have the Serious Fraud Office, or IOCO, all right? We have SRAJ, all right? And all those institutions are underfunded, all right? So it's only when that happens, when the police fails to do its work, that you'll have vigilantes. You understand?
Yes, sir.
ANAS is a creation of the system that we have in Ghana, all right? Because there are perceptions, and there's got to be somebody to come and confirm whether these perceptions are true or not. And that's where he comes in, you understand? But I believe that if we had the potency of the FBI or the crime squad in England or the fraud squad in other countries, it would not be necessary. You understand? He's a child of the system. And that is why he has people who are pro and con. You understand? And that is why I always say it's about us. It's nobody else. It's not some politician or Akufo-Addo or John Mahama. It's us. You understand? We have got to understand what is it that we want from our country. You understand? Look, let me give you an example. In Britain, a child gets lost. All right? It becomes a national issue. One child gets lost. Because their society, they believe that the society has got to protect the individual and the citizenry. When a child gets lost here, somebody will tell you that, oh, you can have another one.
Wow.
You understand where we're coming from? We have to start looking at ourselves. Ghanaians have got to become introspective. We cannot be criticizing and criticizing and criticizing when we are doing the same things ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? Look, you see a driver driving recklessly on the road, and a bus driver, and you reproach him, and you'll get insults from all the people sitting in the bus.
Wow.
In Europe, they'll tell the bus driver that you are at fault. You understand? We tend to think too much about what we're benefiting rather than what society should benefit. You understand? When you throw rubbish into the gutter, when you don't care about your neighbor, when you've got noise pollution all over the place, where everybody now is a pastor, where people, you have women going in, they say all night, and they have babies on their back. There is something intrinsically wrong with the way we do things, and we know it, yet we don't want to stop it. So therefore, you have vigilantes. Look, everybody started talking about Martin Amedu, because at a certain time, we didn't have faith in the organizations that would do the things that he was doing. So we have vigilantes. You understand? The posses that you have in America all came out because there was a failure in the system. If the system is failing, you will get all kinds of aberrations. And I think that, yes, we can talk about ethics and everything. That would be a whole program. You understand? Because you've got to give the examples and everything. But ANAS is the creation of the society, the failure of our society to uphold certain tenets. And that's where it's coming in.
Honorable, we have a minute to go, and I have a two-pronged question.
Yeah.
Number one, Honorable, a former colleague of yours in Parliament has vowed to blow the cover of ANAS. Do you think you should go on that tangent?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think that it's preemptive. I think he should take his time, all right? But then that particular member of Parliament, who happens to be my brother-in-law, is impetuous. So that's all I can say.
One final question.
Yeah.
The series of unity walks of your party will have the 10th one in Ketu South.
Yeah.
And Mahama is expected to announce a comeback. Are you for or against such a move, and why?
Well,
quite briefly,
no,
sir.
I was not somebody who was totally enamored with the unity walks. I felt that we had other things to do in order to unite the party. But the guy who is organizing the unity walks, Kujubunsu, who happens to be a very, very good friend of mine, he came and explained and said, no, he wasn't pushing the agenda of anybody. If John Mahama then decides to declare at a unity walk, then the whole exercise was then compromised. But then he's entitled to, John Mahama is entitled to. Any of the good guys who are good and want to stand, fine. But at this moment in time, I said I'm not supporting anybody at all, because I want to play the role if there is a problem. I want to play the role of somebody who would bring people together, not as a flag bearer or anything, but as part of the elders, the conscience of the party.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
All too soon, we've come to the end of yet again another exhilarating edition of Time with Irobad Ibrahim. Honorable Fritz Baffuor, thank you so much, sir, for making time.
Thank you.
Till we come your way tomorrow, stay blessed and keep praying for Mother Ghana. Good night.